This is Viva Fry.
I'm Dr. Peter McCullough.
This is Tom Luongo.
This is Chuck Prodnick.
This is Alex Kreiner.
Hey, this is Brad Wall.
This is JP Sears.
Hi, this is Frank Peretti.
This is Tammy Peterson.
This is Danielle Smith.
This is James Lindsay.
Hey, this is Brett Kissel, and you're listening to the Shaun Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Happy Monday. Hey, we are back. That's right. It's August, which means back in Canada, back from holidays. We're going to get this thing moving here in August. Excited to be back. And I just wanted to point out, in this version of the Rob Schneider interview, there's a couple of bleeps. He'd asked me when I released it to censor a couple of his F-bombs. So they're bleeped out. It doesn't really take away too much from the interview. But if you want to hear the entire thing unedited, head over to Substack. That's where you can get behind the paywall and hear the fully unedited. There's I'm not going to oversell it. I think you get the entire thing here. But regardless, if you do want to hear it uncensored, that's where you can find it. Hit him back there along with other things on Substack. Now, before we get into all that, how about we talk about the number of ounces of silver needed to buy an ounce of gold at 30-year highs, and silver now a bargain priced when compared to gold. It's a perfect time to protect a portion of your savings with silver, and Silver Gold Bull has a wide variety of best value silver for every budget. Simply text or email Grahame for details, whether you're a seasoned investor or new to precious metals. Grahame will work with you to answer your questions and recommend the best products to meet your investing goals. All you got to do is go to silvergoldbull.ca or .com, and anytime you're on there making purchases, just make sure to reference the Shaun Newman Podcast. I got to get back in the I haven't done this for like a month. I've been relaxing. I haven't been rolling through the old show notes here. Bow Valley Credit Union, your Alberta regulated, fully serviced financial institution. The one that stepped in when Eva Chipiuk's bank account got frozen with RBC. Yeah, that same bank, the bank that seems to be saving a whole bunch of us here in Alberta. If you're in Alberta, you should be opening an account here. While they're their first in Canada gold collateral lending, and all of you can lend against your physical gold and silver for favorable rates. It's like a HELOC on your gold and silver. Don't have any physical gold or silver? They can help you get a loan to purchase that as well. Shoot them an email at welcome@bowvalleycu.com. And you can contact Leanna, and she can get your BVCU membership started today. If you're in a different province, you could also shoot that email. Maybe an email saying, hey, it'd be awesome if you'd open in, I don't know, I've been getting lots of talk from Saskatchewan folk wanting one there. Hey, doesn't hurt for them to know, and maybe to start a conversation there as well. Everything you need to do, bowvalleycu.com. Profit River. Well, folks, when it comes to all your firearm needs, don't look any further than Profit River. They ship all across Canada, and they got a brand new website to help make it easy for you, the customer. And a reminder to put SMP in on the coupon code anytime you're placing an order online, over the phone, in person. It gets you in for monthly draws, and all that information is down in the show notes. Once again, they are the major retailer of firearms, optics, and accessories. They serve all of Canada, so it don't matter if you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, up north in the territories. Just head to profitriver.com. When it comes to wood, well, look no further than Windsor Plywood in Lloydminster. Stop in today and see Carly and his team, whether we're talking, podcast studio tables, mantles, decks, windows, doors, sheds. They got all the character wood. So stop in and see Carly and the team over at Windsor Plywood and tell them I sent you. We got a whole bunch of things going on here in August. I'm working on getting the new studio. Yeah, it's coming. I know I've been talking off and on about this for how long now, but we're closing in on the day when we're going to have our first guest in there. Excited about that. Excited to show some video from inside of it. And hopefully here in August, that is going to be, well, if it isn't in August, in September. So, we're closing in on the day we get to actually, walk in there and do a podcast, which is going to be a ton of fun. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Rumble, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave a review. If you're on X, hit that retweet button. This is a cool one that I did in the middle of July. And we released it first on Substack, so if you are not following on Substack, it's free to get the emails and everything, and just some updates, some cool behind the scenes from not only the trip, but Rob Schneider got released there pretty much as soon as it happened in July. So if you're wanting to stay up to date on the latest and greatest from the podcast, subscribe on Substack. This one was back in July, now out for all of you fine folks. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get on to that tale of the tape. Today's guest is an American actor, comedian, screenwriter, and director, best known for his work on Saturday Night Live during the 90s. I'm talking about Rob Schneider. So buckle up, here we go. Welcome to the Shaun Newman podcast. Today I'm joined by Rob Schneider. So, sir, thanks
Hello.
for sitting down with me for a few minutes.
My pleasure. It's nice to hear we got some, that Stan Getz in the background. I don't know if we paid for the rights for it, but it certainly gives a nice mellow feel to the interview.
Well,
That's Stan Getz, the famous saxophonist who did a lot of bossa nova. That's the only reason I'm born. It was because of my parents, my mother wasn't supposed to have any more babies, but then in 1961, 62, the Stan Getz, Antonio Carlos Jobim album came out with the very famous Girl from Ipanema, and then that was it.
baby
A
making music.
lot of baby boomers. The end of the baby boomers went out with a bang on that one. A lot more babies were born because of that album.
You wrote in your book, and if I had my notes here, I'd read it to you. But you said something like, "The money goes, the homes go, but the stories—that's what you're there for."
I think I also said women go.
And women go, yes.
Yeah. Fame goes.
Fame goes too.
Yeah.
It was-
Houses go.
I enjoyed that line, because when you've come, I grew up watching your movies and seeing you on SNL, and you get some great one-liners. I was before I came here, I was telling shout out to Nick Morianos for getting me here.
Yeah.
I was telling him a story about getting asked to be the officiator at a wedding, and I used your "it's a circle" line,
No,
and
there's no beginning, there's no end, because it's a circle. It's not like a triangle. You get stuck in the corner. No.
Man, I don't know. I was very lucky to be in that era before the culture gave in to weaklings and overly sensitive people. And as my friend John Cleese says, the most sensitive members of society shouldn't be the ones that get to decide what everybody else gets to listen to or watch. So, I hope that kind of covers that.
it does. I was, I had my own awakening through COVID, and
Yeah.
certainly I was, here in Canada as we sit, I was big into hockey. I was,
Yeah.
podcasting with a lot of hockey players, and then I just wouldn't relent. And finally, I finally gave. I'm like, we got to start talking about this. I was mentioning James Lindsay, but there's
Yeah.
just a whole host of doctors,
Well,
lawyers, professionals.
tyranny sneaks in, not so sneaky, but the idea is to take away your rights. The idea is to, government will keep growing until you beat it down with a stick. And the idea that these rights and liberties that we have, that they were just given to us, they weren't. They were earned through blood. And sometimes Americans and Canadians specifically forget that. And while they're all gravitating towards their new, worse than Justin Trudeau Prime Minister, I would just hasten to say, you don't really know this guy. He does not have your, of all the things he wants to do, your individual liberties are not on that list, Canadians, so beware.
In your book, you talk about 2014 as roughly the time you started to speak up, if you would.
Yeah.
What was it back then for the audience that kind of like opened your
I mean,
eyes?
tyranny, there was under Woodrow Wilson, President Woodrow Wilson, he ran under, Wilson kept us out of war, and as soon as he was reelected, 1916, he got us directly into the war, and then threw anti-war protesters into prison and rounded them up. And the closest thing I saw to that was more so than whatever Nixon did in the Vietnam era was Biden. I mean, shutting down, literally shutting down, forcing I know that the lockdown originated under President Trump, but the firing of federal workers, nurses, doctors, frontline workers was the Democrats, and it really was a fascistic, totalitarian response to the flu. And I really do think it was aimed to continue. And we were never supposed to get out of COVID. That was the one benefit from warp speed. That was a gigantic benefit. Well, there was at least, we got the vaccine. You can't keep us shut down anymore. Whatever the clot shot, myocarditis shot, ineffective and in stopping or in curing or spreading the illness or prevention. It was able to give reason to open up society, and that was thanks to Thomas Cahill, who was in charge of the Operation Warp Speed. But truthfully, I must give credit to finally what wakened the Americans, rousing spirit of protest was Canadians.
Was the truckers' protest?
Was the truckers' protest. That's what ended it. I mean, the response is sickening to me. The fact that Justin Trudeau and Freelander aren't in jail because they froze their bank accounts under some, as if these were terrorists and treated them as called terrorists. To me, that's the most sickening thing Canada's ever done. And, put aside the horrible lies that, there were no bodies buried, there were no children buried in 80 churches. 80 churches were burned because of a lie of indigenous people that those no bodies were ever found. And why aren't they doing? Why aren't we trying to find out who burned those 80 churches down? So it's Canada is in the middle of a war for its own soul, and you better bless your lucky stars that you have Donald Trump as president and the Republican Party to buttress your flirtation with communism that you guys are experiencing here in Canada.
Yeah, well, certainly here in Canada, we're socialism, right? The word communism, people don't, but socialism, everything we do is just further and further into the
Well, socialism. They won't even say, well, in any communism, which has never succeeded anywhere. But the idea somehow is that, what's utopia comes from the Greek, actually meaning no place. That's what utopia. Look it up. It's from the Greek. It means no place, because there is no place. There is no utopia. There's always the promise of it. The idea is, well, we got to share, fair share. Like, how much, as Thomas Sowell says wisely, how much of your hard work is somebody else's fair share? How much more can the Canadian government take from working people? And how much more can they distribute and redistribute before people just don't want to even work anymore? So that's the question for Canadians. I mean, yes, this is an incredible country, incredible people, and an incredible spirit, and incredible resources. And I am blown away by Canadians, and but their fixation on solving problems that don't exist, like this equity and diversity, equity inclusion, and the nonsense about global warming. It is nonsense. Yes, there is global warming. It was colder this morning than it is right now. But the idea that that your idiotic prime minister is going to zero emissions is stupidity. And thankfully, that Alberta is the only thing holding up your whole country, the only province that's profitable. It's a service society without Alberta, so good luck without Alberta. It's no coincidence that all the money's coming from Alberta and it's the freest province. That's not a coincidence.
I would agree. I would argue that Saskatchewan folk, being born and raised there, and then coming now and living in Alberta, would argue they very similar.
Okay.
The West.
I'll need to learn more about Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan's a group of hardy people. It's a beautiful place.
I was in Saskatchewan. It's very woke. The city's very woke.
I chuckled because, like you're talking about the
yeah.
comedy show you did in Regina for
Yeah,
the
those-
SHA,
those-
if I
the
recall.
shitheads in Regina,
Well,
as I
but
like to call them.
But if there was a group that hated what I did in the middle of COVID, it'd be the Saskatchewan Health Authority. I don't think there's any mincing
Well,
words
I think
about
that they behave I think the health authorities, along with your terrible media in Canada, behaved miserably during COVID, and I think your health authorities should lose their authority. And I think they're a bunch of I regret nothing. I think until I did not apologize. I did not. I mean, until and it was only one guy really that complained. If you go back to the news, it's just one idiot that's talking to the news and stuff. And of course, the CBC, the shitty organization of captured news, which is the government mouthpiece for the liberals, tried to turn it into a big story. But clearly, it was jokes, and I'm never going to apologize for jokes. And if jokes is what threatens people, then you have bigger problems than my jokes.
But it's funny to me because it'd be like the Democrat Party inviting Rob Schneider in. Like,
yeah, no, I wasn't going to change my act for them, and I wasn't going to do, and they can kiss my ass. I was there to help raise money for a pediatric, a pediatric ward at their hospital under their invitation. So do your fucking research, and don't blame me. You got the wrong guy for your event. You. That's my news to the medical establishment in Regina.
if I go back to 2014, when you first started speaking out, there's a lot in a small man, I guess. You're not a big 6'8", but you speak louder than so many people that I would think would maybe want to. But we know that fear has its place in society and how it controls people.
It does. Fear does. Losing your reputation or your place in society or your place in show business or your the lessening of your bank account is such a small price to pay for trying to cajole, remind, instill, and support freedom and the free speech. I mean, the idea that freedom is just this thing's going to take care of itself. No, as our founding fathers in the United States said, it requires eternal vigilance. And so, while whatever misfortunes I may have suffered reputationally by people I have no respect for in show business, I don't feel it a sacrifice. A real sacrifice are the cemeteries that are littered with real heroes who sacrificed, and you see them row after row after row of people who died very young fighting for these rights, so that I could speak my mind, so that I could continue the idea that human beings have inalienable rights, and that we are made under God, and that we have a country that is founded on liberty and liberty for the individual. And so the idea that whatever reprisals that I suffered, we're not allowed to have governmental reprisals. But that was what's interesting, was the encroachment of under the Biden administration and Biden to begin with as well, of real censorship, which was antithetical and illegal. So for tyranny to raise its ugly head in any society, as it's doing in Canada now, and as it was doing in the United States, you have to go back to the Athenian lawmaker Solon, who said that who decreed it a crime for any citizen to shirk from controversy. You are a citizen. You are imbued with rights. You are also imbued with responsibility. When your nation is under attack and your rights are being attacked and your children's rights are under threat by your own government, you must speak up, whatever that costs you. And so, when you saw the global push for closing society, as we saw under the great scamdemic, the people have woken up to it. There's been no apologies. Where's the apologies for the lockdown and closing of schools? I mean, my mother was an educator for 30 years. I mean, she would be horribly disappointed and heartbroken that the gains that poor children made, African American children specifically, it took decades for them to come up to par in reading and math with their classmates, and then to lose it so quickly because of the ignorance of this, for a flu that was dangerous for people if they were really unhealthy. Most of the people who died, over 70% were 75% up to 85% were obese or had 3 to 4 comorbidities, life-threatening illnesses that took them out, like a normal flu. So I think it's you must stand up and speak for your country, no matter the cost. I'm not one of the people. My grandchildren one day will say, "What did Grandpa do during the great scamdemic?" Well, I wasn't silent, worried about doing Deuce Bigalow 4.
You know, one of the things that impressed me about your book, and like, once again, I keep bringing it up, people should, you can do it. You know, you can find
Thank
it.
you.
I push people, not everybody loves listening to a book, but when you can find a book that's
Oh, yeah.
voiced by the author.
Well, thank you. I did it. I worked my ass off on that.
I tell you what, your impressions, I wrote a play in here, right? So I come here
Yeah.
from Minneapolis from family holidays, and I'm sure the guy sitting beside me was like, what is this guy listening to? But your impression of Christopher Walken, but
thank
even
you.
more specifically, your story about Chris Farley. I don't normally just like burst out laughing, but I thought
Oh, thank you.
I thought it was great. I mean, I grew up watching, like I said, SNL.
Those were
and
fun times,
Chris
yeah.
Farley was,
I was a young man. We were all young. We were kids trying to figure out, if we were really in show business or not.
And sorry, where I was going was one of the things I enjoyed about your book is I didn't realize, you play the goofy character in so many films. Very
Yeah.
well, I might add.
Thank you.
But I didn't realize how well read you were. And it should have dawned on me that, being a comedian, you just don't walk up and start shooting from the hip. There's a ton of prep time that goes in there.
Yeah.
But, you brought up Woodrow Wilson right at the start, and if people go listen to your book or read it for that matter, you'll see there's a depth there of like, oh man, this isn't the Rob Schneider I know from maybe some of the
Well,
films
I mean,
you've been in.
I believe, I agree with Norm Macdonald. Any comedian who's goes on stage or in a movie trying to show how smart he is, none of the great comedians ever did that. So, but I'm not just a comedian. I'm an American citizen, and
Yeah.
I feel like for whatever reason, whatever fame I've managed to get sucked into, I think it does come with some responsibilities to it. And for for what we've been through is particularly a unique time, and I think it for people who have whatever small influence that I may have, I think it's important to be one of conscientiousness, to perhaps cajole, criticize, as the great comedians and the great social critics. You have to be a critic of your times, about your times. Otherwise, what are you doing? So that's where, I love Norm, a great Canadian, and probably the best comedy of the 21st century. But
Sharp as a tack.
I deviate there in the sense of I feel I must speak my mind, and though he would probably hate it, and like, hey, why do you? Who cares what Deuce Bigalow thinks? Well, apparently a few people, but I don't. It's not that I'm trying to impress anybody. I just think we have to. It's going to take people, whether it's myself or other people, to kind of buttress and not. So that other people aren't the first people to say it, and to say it in a safe way. I mean, be careful at work. Be careful how you voice it, but voice it. We have to get this culture back to a place of, I wouldn't say normalcy, because what does it mean? Place where people, if free speech means anything, it is the right for me to say something that could make somebody else angry, pissed off, or or questioning their, foundational thinking about some subject. And so that's why it's so critical. I mean, there's no coincidence that, America, with all its peccadillos and imperfections, is the technological and financial engine of the world. And I think that innovation comes from that conflict that you get when you have a society that allows free speech.
You think we'll ever get back to a time in Hollywood specifically where you're going to get great, not only performances, but,
Great comedy again?
Yeah.
Maybe. I hope so. I hope so in my lifetime. I think so. We're going to try to do a few things. As a matter of fact, the new studio that we have now, Friendly Fire Studio, we're trying to do exactly that. But we'll see. I mean, if audiences want to come to it, yeah. Stand-up has been more or less reinvigorated because I think the audiences go to see comedians, whether it's Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, or Louis C.K., or when Norm Macdonald was still alive, and hey, make sense of the world for me. And I think that's been the purpose, and that's why I think stand-up's been so, well, I don't want to say, never been bigger, but it's never been bigger, and probably more vital, not in its importance, but it's the vitality in its excitement, and because it's a thrill, because you can actually talk about what people are still experiencing in this tumultuous cultural upheaval that we have. And I would say right now it's a counterculture. A countercultural revolution, because the cultural revolution, very much in the guise of being better for society, but truthfully a communistic, totalitarian, woke takeover of our culture and society. That's really just very Maoist, if you think about it. As Dave Lindsay talks about it way more interesting than me. I'm sorry, James Lindsay.
If I could have one more question with you.
Yeah.
I always ask, everybody's always interested in the red pill moment of when people start to see the world for the way it is.
I don't like that term, red pill. I just think it's something that's
but I guess
an obvious fact. If you want to categorize it in a political party or a political affiliation, you can. But I think it's just common sense.
Sure. Well, I guess the question I was wondering, you're a God-fearing man, correct?
I think any person worth his own salt should think of himself not excluded from the world, but a part of it and made in God's image. I think that's pretty foundational thinking.
What's the moment
for most of Western civilization? Yes.
Was that something that you believed back in the SNL days, or is that something that's changed over time?
I think I drifted from God, but Jesus only lets you go so far before you get pulled back into the fold.
And when did he pull you back into the fold?
I think around 2014 and that era, and then more recently now as a member of the Catholic Church. Catholic Church just means, if you're a believer in Christ, you're my brother. But Jesus wrote a specific prayer of all the apostles. He picked Peter for a reason, made a prayer about him, gave a prayer just for Peter, not for anybody else. So there's something special about Peter. So that's why the Catholic, first of all, the Catholic Church is attacked all over the world for a reason. And I think we can understand why, because it's the closest to the actual words of Jesus Christ. And I think as one of the opportunities in this time is, and one of the wonderful observations, seeing so many people coming to the church now. It's beautiful. Young people wanting to belong to something. If you want to see godless hopelessness, go to these communist countries. Talk to anybody who lived in them. You will see a hopelessness, a separateness from everything. Whereas in Christianity, we're part of the whole. We're part of the church, and we are loved. And I would hope that as this expansion in the church continues to grow, because it's a beautiful gift that we have, the greatest gift ever, Jesus Christ, the price he paid for all of us.
Thanks for doing this, Rob.
Thank you, brother. Wish you all the best.